My grandfather died during the war. I wasn't born then, but I was told stories of the tragedy. It wasn't known how he died, but the mystery surrounding his death were definitely on people's lips at the time. He was found dead, frozen with a twisted look of pain on his face. However, no one could determine the cause. Theories of a secret nerve agent or a new type of chemical warfare were thrown around, but nothing stuck. During an on-site autopsy, things got even stranger. The pathologist wasn't heard from in some time. When someone found him, he was laying on the floor next to the bed, in a similar state my grandfather was found in. It was years before my grandmother got a straight answer, but when the military were satisfied with their investigation, they confided in her the truth and passed on all my grandfather's on-duty belongings. What the news reported after that was that my grandmother killed herself from grief, a conclusion which made the most sense when her death was investigated. However, my father told me there was more to it. He was the one who found his mother, frozen and contorted in the same way my grandfather was supposedly found in. The government took the body and nothing was heard since. Everyone was more than happy to accept the word of the news. After all, it did make the most sense. But not to my father. He probably sounded like an insane teenager, raving about the conspiracies he kept coming up with. People just took it as the reaction of a child scarred from finding his own mother's body. Not something easy to accept. He kept to his story while he brought me up. When I was around his age during that whole ordeal, he confided in me everything. And every few months he would talk about it more, to the point that the story was ingrained in my mind. Is the reason I remember it so vividly to this day. Besides his strange tangents about all this, he was a great father. He was strong. He had to be, living through such a traumatic event. A gift he passed on to me. My memory is hazy at the start. He woke me very early in the morning. He must have been up late, having a casual drink and rifling through the attic, when he found something and excitedly woke me up. When I was finally paying attention, he shoved a box in front of me. He then proceeded to explain that these were my grandfather's items given to my grandmother before she passed away. He pulled out piece after piece, explaining what each item was and what it was used for in such an archaic time. I still remember his puzzled face as he pulled out something he didn't recognize. It was a small, black orb, not too dissimilar to a children's marble, only slightly larger. It swirled in the light in such a peculiar way. After a few seconds of studying it, my father's eyes widened, and he dropped the ball. He followed after, twisting, writhing, and exclaiming in pain. I screamed too, but as suddenly as it started, it stopped, and he was frozen in the most awkward of angles, a look of agony frozen on his face. Police came with EMTs. He was pronounced dead on sight. It was chalked up to an unexpected stroke. I tried to tell them about the orb to no avail. I then tried to show it to them, but it was nowhere to be found. However, it didn't stay gone for long. I have many memories of seeing it. I would be reaching into my toy chest, trying to find something to play with, and a glimmer would catch my eye right next to my hand. As soon as I recognized it, I would run away, screaming to my mother. When she came, it would be gone. These episodes were often drummed up to grief, a believable explanation to my sporadic behavior. I now had an understanding of the frustration my father felt when he was my age. I remember in school, the class was changing to art, so we were instructed to pull out our art supplies. I pulled open my drawer where I kept all my stationery, and just as I was about to reach in, I'd stopped myself just in time. By then, screaming and running away, all because of an ominous black ball. This thing haunted my childhood, always coming within inches of what I knew to be the end of my life. As I got older, I started getting more creative. No longer did I run away screaming, and no longer did I try show or tell anyone. I knew it was a futile effort, as it always managed to slip away before anyone else could see it. In my early 20s, I started scheming. My first idea was simple: to lure it out and smash it. I spent the day idly playing around in the garage, pulling open drawers of tools, hammering nails into random pieces of wood. In hindsight, it was obvious I wasn't doing anything, but at the time I thought I was really smart. Somehow, it worked. As I was reaching in to grab more nails, I stopped myself just in time. In front of my fingertips was the sphere which some reason wanted me dead. I hovered my hand, in my mind, to distract it, like it was somewhat alive. Then suddenly, I pulled back and swung my other arm, hammer in hand, and hit it dead on. It bounced dangerously close to me, threatening to bounce off me if I hadn't moved in time. It landed with a small tink and rolled before stopping. I leaned over, checking if I'd made any mark. I hadn't. I tried again, and somehow it once more unnaturally flew towards me, narrowly missing my leg. This time I took it as a warning shot and ran away, scared once again. I could tell it wasn't going to break, and somehow attempting to destroy it made it mysteriously always fly towards me. However, my effort wasn't all in vain. I learned one key detail, which has let me live out my life peacefully from then on. I could touch it with objects. I never tempted fate. I never used anything that put me dangerously close to it. I used a pair of tongs to pry it from the next hiding spot I found it in. My idea was this: it hiding was its greatest strength, so I wanted to take that away. Rather than hiding it in a locked away box, only for it to disappear without me seeing, I instead held it in a glass cabinet and kept it in my room, so I could see it at all times. For years it stayed there. Every day I'd check up on it. I grew up, got a job. Before and after work, I'd always make sure to give it a once-over, just to be sure my day would be safe. I met a girl and worked around my relationship to always keep an eye on it. We got married, had a kid, we moved in together, got married, had a kid. In the new house, I kept it in an ornate glass box. Of course, she was a bit confused at first. However, I simply said it was a family heirloom, technically the truth, and that it was so valuable and old that it couldn't be touched. I made something up about how the oils in her hands would be corrosive to it, and she never once wanted to touch it. The only difficulty was balancing my now extremely loaded schedule with keeping an eye on it. At first, things were fine. I'd wake up when the baby woke, check the box. I'd feed the baby and get ready for work, check the box. Go to work, get home, check the box. Check on my wife and baby, help out, check the box. Relax for a little bit, check the box, then go to bed. However, the schedule never left much room for rest and relaxation, and it started to catch up with me. In a way, it started with my wife. She surprised me, wanting to go out for dinner. This happened after work. She stopped me at the door and told me her parents had the baby and that she was taking me out for a surprise meal. I told her I just needed to check a few things and to get ready. She told me there was no time and that my work attire would do. I tried protesting, but she just grabbed my arm, giggling, and pulled me away, telling me I needed to relax. When I got home, something was different. I sped through the house to check on the box. When I looked at the marble, everything seemed fine at first. However, the more I looked at it, the more something seemed different. I shifted my head around at different angles, and I noticed what made me feel uneasy. It had moved, ever so slightly. I used a pen to move it back, and prayed it would never happen again. Another time, I got home late from work. I needed to do a bit of overtime to catch up on some projects, and I was exhausted. As soon as I sat down on the couch, my head hit the pillow and I passed out. When I woke up, I was panicked. My wife was sitting across from me watching TV. In a stressed tone, I asked her why she let me sleep, and she just gave the loving answer of not wanting to bother me. I raced to the box, and as I entered the room, I heard an ominous sound. Clink. I froze for a second, anticipating the worst. When nothing happened, I slowly approached the box. I realized what the clink was. The marble was pressed against the glass, as if it had just been moving in my absence. From then on, I was more cautious than ever. I made sure to check it extra times in the day, no matter how inconvenient it was for my family. I could tell my wife was getting annoyed, but it was important to me. I didn't want my child to grow up without a father, not like my father did, or myself. However, it's impossible to be perfect. It only takes one slip-up for everything to go wrong. I finished work late one night. I'd been working my job for almost a decade, and I felt I was ready to be moved up to the next level. On my way out, I was stopped. A group of upper management caught me and asked me if I wanted to get drinks with them. I took the hint. They were scoping me out, seeing if I was a fit for the inner circle of the higher-ups. This was my chance. I only had one other thing on my mind. I told them I'd just have to tell my wife and I'd be with them. I scooped around the corner and quickly dialed home. My wife picked up, confused at first. "Hey, honey, I may be coming home late." "Why's that?" she said, inquisitively. "I'm going out for drinks with upper management. I think they're seeing if I'm a fit for promotion," I said, hinting that this was going to be very important. "That's amazing! Thanks for letting me be the first to know. I'm sure you want to rub it in Joe's face. He's been snagging you for years," she excitedly replied. Yeah, I'm actually calling about my box. All I want you to do is check up on it, that's all." "Oh," she said, a hint of anger in her tone. "Please, it's important to me," I said in a begging tone. "Sure, whatever," she said, and we hung up. With that, I was out in the town, and what a night. I mingled with them perfectly. Sure, promotions are based on work performance, but there's also a level of chemistry needed. In my eyes, this night out was proof I was a fit for them. I stumbled home very late. All the lights were off. If my wife checked the box when I called her, that would have meant it would have only been 5 hours, so I was in time to give it another look. I snuck in my study and flicked on the spotlight, which highlighted the box. It was gone. Panic set in. I raced up to it, the daunting realization sobering me up. I rubbed my hand around the box. No holes, yet it was gone. Panting, I raced up to my wife's room and woke her. I asked her over and over if she checked on the box. She angrily told me it was just an object, that she didn't see the need in checking on it since she was in all day and no one entered the house, let alone the room, that she was mad at me that I cared about it more than her. While in the middle of an earful, I heard a thump. It was from my son's room. In a state, I ran towards his room, which had only angered my wife more. I burst open the door to see my son sitting on the floor, playing with his toys. He had an action figure in each hand, the desk lamp turned towards him as a dim spotlight to illuminate his late-night play. "Son, what are you doing?" I said, nonchalantly, trying my best to sound calm as to not spook him. I knew I had to be a father, but I was also severely on edge. "Sorry, Daddy, I was just playing football. I'll go to bed," he said in a defeated tone. My mind drifted, now theorizing the thousands of places the ball could be, trying to scheme up a new way to catch it. I heard the 2 thunks of his toys being dropped in his toy chest. But instead of heading to his bed, I absent-mindedly picked up that he was walking back to where he was playing, like he'd forgotten something. Then it hit me. I looked down and realized my suspicion of the ball his toys had been kicking. But it was too late.